So hello and welcome to today's video. So one of Rockstar's best traits is their amazing storytelling. From Grand Theft Auto Vice City and onwards, Rockstar have done outstanding work in building all of their in-game universes full of captivating, memorable storylines with a wide variety of characters who are beloved and hated by many. Usually with a very healthy mix of both humour, action and drama that keep players hooked, alongside a lot of in-depth lore that really ties many of their games together. And for today's video, I'm going to be focusing on Grand Theft Auto 4 especially, and how it's one of the best endings Rockstar have ever made. So spoiler warning of course. So if you've ever played and finished Grand Theft Auto 4, you'll know that it has two endings, and both of them are pretty bad. There are no happy endings for Niko at all. So what do I mean when I say GTA 4 has the best ending? Do I hate Roman Bellic and Kate McGreary that much? Or do I just like seeing Niko suffer? Well, no. When I say it's one of the best, I'm talking from a writing and creative viewpoint, because it's without a doubt one of the best, most impactful endings Rockstar have ever made. So specifically, I'll be talking about Roman Bellic's death ending and going over why it's the best written one, and part of that has to do with the character dynamic between Roman and Niko. So I think this ending is more impactful than Kate's death because of how much we know about Niko and Roman's relationship. We know they have a really close bond dating back to their childhood and life together in the old country. And we know going off in-game quotes that Roman's mother raised them both together, so their relationship is less cousinly but more brotherly. There's also a lot of depth to the pair that makes most people feel like there's a loving bond between the two, and Rockstar did a fantastic job at showing us this bond between Niko and Roman very early on. We know Roman is often bullied by Vlad and many other people, but Niko is always there to stand up for him and to make sure Roman doesn't get hurt or upset. Like in GTA lore for example, Niko found out Roman's mother was raped and murdered during the war, but knowing that would destroy Roman's feelings, he lied and said that she died in a house fire and Niko unfortunately stumbled upon a body. It's a complete lie, but the care that Niko has for Roman shows strongly throughout the story too, with Niko essentially being a one-man army protector for his cousin, which we see play out multiple times, and Roman returns this in his own little ways too. While Roman isn't anywhere near as tough as Niko is, as soon as Niko gets off that boat, Roman invites Niko to come and live with him at his apartment, gets Niko a job at his cab business, and in a way, gets Niko hooked up with Michelle. For better or for worse in that one. Roman never had to do that, but he did because he didn't want Niko to go through the same struggles he did when he arrived in America years prior. Because in lore, Roman mentions how he had to sleep under his desk at his job before he could even afford the apartment he currently lives in. Even in some of the more serious moments of the game, Roman is always there for Niko too, such as tagging along where he's about to get Darko and wanting to help Niko get revenge in the Kate's death ending, even though Niko doesn't want Roman there because he knows Roman is not a fighter and would likely get himself hurt or worse. Likewise, during the events of Grand Theft Auto 4, Roman and Niko are pretty much the perfect duo but also complete opposites at the same time. Niko is more serious, he's more reserved, action-packed, dry and quite pessimistic, with Niko criticising the American dream for example, while Roman on the other hand, he takes a role of a comic relief support character. He's often there to provide laughs even during some of the more serious moments. Like when he gets kidnapped in base GTA 4, that's a really serious moment in the story because obviously Niko storms in guns blazing to rescue Roman. But when we do the kidnapping in The Lost and Damned, it's much more humorous, with sort of like, Roman shitting himself in the back and, him sort of crying and gagging a bit laughing at Brucey's balls. But yeah, outside of that, Roman is very expressive, he's very friendly, he's quite loud and optimistic about the American dream. Most people really grew to like Roman over time, from his love for bowling, his humour and how much charm he brings to the world of GTA 4. Rockstar did a really fantastic job at setting the character dynamic between the pair. So when it comes to Kate, we know that Niko and Kate are getting together, but it's not as in-depth or as fleshed out as Niko and Roman's past is. We know they hit it off pretty well at the start, and like Roman, Kate is also the exact opposite of Niko. She's friendly, she doesn't do anything her brothers do, and typically tries to keep herself to herself with her mum, and the relationship does kind of expand on it somewhat, even more so if you do date Kate a lot. It's a good start to building a good character dynamic between the two, but as said, it just doesn't get expanded as much as Niko and Roman's arc does. Plus, for all we know, if Kate survives, maybe their relationship didn't work out and they might have broken up after about 3 or 4 years or whatever. Especially since in the ending where Roman dies, Niko and Kate have an argument anyway because she didn't like the fact that Niko did the deal with Dimitri and just refuses to attend the wedding. So make of that what you will. So now on to breaking down the ending itself, because it did a great job at setting the atmosphere perfectly. Roman's finally getting married to the woman he loves after trying so hard to impress her, and overcoming a lot of issues like his apartment being burnt down with his engagement ring inside, losing pretty much everything and nearly getting killed multiple times, and essentially having to start over from the absolute very bottom. It's a really kind of happy turn of events to see Roman being so enthusiastic and finally having his life going so well for him. And of course at the wedding, seeing all of Niko and Roman's friends congratulating the newlyweds is just really wholesome to see. Until the service ends, of course, where we all know what happens. Now for first time players, and those who avoided spoilers, this is completely shocking because when I first did this, I was expecting it to be another Blood Brothers kind of mission, you know, where you take on a few waves of hitmen, mission ends, and that's it. But no, it's just the one guy in the cutscene, and then you hear Mallory scream Roman's name, and that's when you realise, and so does Niko, and this is where Rockstar's writing shines its strongest. Because when Niko turns around and sees Roman dead on the pavement, he doesn't have any immediate reactions. He doesn't say anything, nor does he run over to see if Roman's okay. He just remains still, and, you know, it's just the way that Niko sees Roman's corpse is pretty harrowing. Because we know Niko isn't afraid to kill. Because at this point in the story, Niko's killed God knows how many people. But something about the way he reacts is just really unsettling, because as soon as he sees Roman's corpse, he just picks up the gun, stares blankly at the hitman, completely expressionless, not saying a single word, just shooting him until the clip ends. And then he flips out, starts kicking Hitman's corpse and becomes really disoriented when little Jacob is trying to calm him and Niko just keeps stumbling around, falling on the floor. It's a fantastically shot scene of how Niko's just in pure shock, carried on by how Niko is clearly breaking on the inside of how he's struggling to stay upright and sounding like he's holding back tears. Which is something we never see from Niko usually, because he's usually very reserved of his emotions. This is just so much better when it cuts to the next day, because there is no immediate revenge mission. It's just Niko waking up the next day, saying, "I'm sorry cousin," and you get a very unique sort of mission complete sound.
Roman, I'm so sorry, cousin.
Okay, granted, you also get this in the Kate dies ending, but I think it's more impactful for the Roman's death ending. That's not even covering Roman's wife Mallory, the woman Roman loved from the very start and tried his hardest to please her, and it just feels like fate never wanted them to get together. With Roman's wedding ring getting burnt in his old apartment, the stuff with Vlad of course, and the fact that the happiest day of Roman's life also turned into his last. It's also really not fair on Mallory because, as you know by the end of the game with the post-game phone calls, Roman was going to be a father. And it makes it so much harder when that child doesn't have a father figure around. Of course, for all we know, maybe after the events of GTA 4, maybe, I don't think it's canonical, but maybe Niko would have helped out Mallory, I don't know, but anyway, back to it. It makes going after Dimitri so much more vengeful because the little rat bastard really deserved it, and it feels much better killing him in this mission than it did killing him in the mission for Pegorino. I think this was a much better ending for Grand Theft Auto 4 because of how much of an antagonist Dimitri was to Niko than Jimmy ever was. But Niko saying like Roman never hurt anyone in that final cutscene shows that Niko really went after Dimitri because of this. Dimitri's admittedly accidental attack on Roman was the absolute tipping point for him and his biggest and final mistake. The post-game phone calls will also tug at your heartstrings quite a bit too, like Niko finding out Roman is going to be a father, and Kate trying to comfort Niko and saying if he wants anything just to call her, and Niko not even hesitating to say, "I want Roman back," or Niko saying to Brucey that Roman didn't leave us, he was taken from us and he's never coming back. It's simple but also really powerful writing. Another thing about the ending to this is how different it is in contrast to the happy-go-lucky endings of most Rockstar games that predated it, where the protagonist usually defeats their enemies and end their stories insanely wealthy and powerful men with a city wrapped around their finger. Like GTA Vice City has Tommy Vercetti essentially running the biggest mafia in Vice City. In San Andreas, CJ basically started the game with nothing but $350 and the clothes on his back, but he ends the game a multi-millionaire. He owns a garage, a casino, an airfield, a military jetpack, being a co-leader of one of the most powerful gangs in Los Santos, connections to all kinds of mafia across the state, and being a manager to Mad Dog. In fairness, San Andreas' ending is more akin to a fairy tale one than pretty much every Rockstar game out there, but even in Buddy, how Jimmy becoming king of the school ends up with the girl he had a crush on and everyone at Bullworth loves and respects him, and Jimmy gets his expulsion revoked. And Liberty City Stories, the most random one of this list, ends with Tony Cipriani becoming one of the most highest ranked members of the Leone Mafia. You get the point. Pretty much every single Rockstar game before this ended on a very high, happy, positive note. But not here. Niko is not a rich man with a gang he can rule the city with. He has nothing to show for it. He may have gotten revenge on Dimitri, but that was at the cost of losing his cousin, whom he loved and cared deeply about, and nothing will ever change that. So kind of like Niko's dealings with Darko, killing somebody responsible for an event in your past does not solve anything. It's a fantastic ending that shows revenge is a fool's game. All in all, the Roman's death ending in GTA 4 is the perfect ending of what a bad ending is. It's not a case of the bad guy wins or whatever, because nobody wins in this ending. It's incredibly action-packed and full of emotion that subverts the player's expectations of being anything like the games that predate it. And so that's the video, a bit of a small tribute to the writing of Grand Theft Auto 4, I guess you can say. Because I think it's probably one of the most powerful written games that Rockstar have ever made. And this ending is one of the many reasons why I think it's probably got one of the strongest stories out of the entire series. I'll probably expand on it more if I ever get around to doing a proper GTA 4 review, but yeah, that's it for today's video. Thank you for watching and have a great day.